Alright, so for lesson 7 it says that we have one row of an array that is drawn below. Complete the array with x's to make 3 rows of 4 x's and to draw horizontal lines to separate the rows. Now horizontal lines just look like this. It's just a line that goes across instead of up and down. So we need 3 rows. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add one more row. So we've got 2 rows. Now we need 3, so I have to go and add another row. So I have 3 rows with 4 x's in them. Now that's all it says to do for this particular part of the problem. So we're going to leave that because we're going to have to use it again in just a second when we get to right here, okay? But then we need to draw an array with x's that has 3 columns of 4 and have vertical lines to separate them. So 3 columns with 4 in them, so we need 4 x's in a column. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my line. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my other line. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just put that there. So now we need to come over here and take a look at this part of the problem. So we need 3, well, we have 3 blanks right here. So we need to figure out what we're going to fill these blanks with and then what the total is going to be right here. So for both of our problems, we have 3 groups, right? So we've got a group right here, right here, and right here, in rows, and then we have columns as groups as well, just like that. And so each of these groups has 4 in it, so we can assume that we'd fill in these blanks with 4, because either way it's going to have 4 x's, 4 in the group, and there are 3 groups. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12. Now, the point of this problem is to help us realize that we can get the same number with different arrays, okay? So we have 3 rows of 4, which is this problem up here, and then 3 columns of 4, which is this problem right here. So both of these equal the same number. So I'm going to go ahead and let you fill those in because you know what the total is now. So you should be able to handle that one pretty easily. Alright, so moving on to number 2, it says to draw an array of x's with 5 columns of 3. So we need to have 5 columns, and each of these needs to have 3 x's in it. So would you come in and go 1, 2, 3, and then we would do that 5 times so that we have 5 columns. So you would go and put 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there, and then you'd have 5 total, okay? And then you would come down here and use that to answer these questions down here, but before you do that, you need to draw an array of x's with 5 rows of 3. So you would have 5 rows of 3. So this would be an example of the first row, 1, 2, 3. Now remember that rows go across like this, and so you would need to draw one right here, and then keep doing that until you have 5. And then you would come over here and answer these questions. Alright, so moving on to problem 3. It looks like we need to separate the rows or columns with horizontal or vertical lines. Now draw an array of x's with 4 rows of 3. Now, when I'm looking at this, rows, that's what stands out at me. Rows, those go back and forth, just like horizontal lines. So for this first one, I would draw my array, and I would have my 4 rows with 3 in them, and then I would have horizontal lines separating them, just like this. And so there's 1 row, but I need to have 4 of them, so you would go ahead and draw the rest of those, then use that array to answer these problems. Okay. Now, the wording in this problem is just a little bit odd. So it says, draw an array of x's with 1 more row of 3 than the array in problem 3. Write a repeated addition equation to find the total number of x's. Okay, so here's how I would do this. First, I would redraw what I drew for this. So I'd simply come over here and be like, okay, so I needed 4 rows of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the line between, so that's 2 rows, 1, 2, 3, it's 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and that is 4 rows right there. But then it says to draw 1 more row of 3 than we had in the last problem. So I'm going to go ahead and add that last row right there. So of course this leaves us with 5 rows of 3. So for our repeated addition, we would simply come over here, go, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that equals blank altogether. So I'm going to let you figure that one out. So this is another kind of tricky problem, and it says to draw an array of x's with 1 less column of 5 than the array in problem 4. Write a repeated addition equation to find the total number of x's. So we're going to take a quick peek at the array from problem 4, and so we've got 3 columns of 5, also known as 5 rows of 3. So we're just going to come over here and draw this just real quick. So I'm just going to draw the entire thing in problem 5. So here I am in problem 5, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, so 2, that's 2 rows, 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2, 4 rows, 5 rows. Now, here's the thing, it says to have 1 less column, so you could either cross this out, or I'm going to actually just erase it real quick, just like that. And so I really only need 1 vertical line right there. Then I need to write a repeated addition equation to find the total number of x's I have left. So I've got 2 groups. Each of those groups has 5 in it, so I would simply have blank plus blank equals blank, and then you would just fill in the number in each of these blanks, and then find the total. Alright, so moving on to the homework. Feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. You just need to make sure that you have 4 rows of 5 So you have one row right here, so you would need to draw a second, a third, and a fourth row, so you have your 4 rows of 5, and then draw your horizontal lines. And then you're going to use this to answer some of the questions down here. Then very similar for problem B, you need to have 4 columns of 5, so you would simply come over here and draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make sure that you have 4 columns and that you separate those with a line just like this, and then come over here and fill in the blanks. Alright, so for number 2, it says to draw an array of x's with 3 columns of 4. Now remember, this is 3 columns of 4, so these are going to be going up and down, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you would simply draw 2 more of those right there, and then you'll be using that to answer these questions down here. And then 3 rows of 4 for problem B. So you would do the same thing, except you'd be going across in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'd have to draw another one, and then another one, so that you had 3 of them. And then you would have all the information you need to fill out that. Moving on to number 3, it says in the following problem, separate the rows or columns with horizontal or vertical lines. Now, we've got 3 rows of 3, so what you're going to want to do is think about, okay, so I've got rows, those go back and forth, so I'm going to want to use a horizontal line, because horizontal lines go back and forth. So go ahead and draw your 3 rows of 3, and then you'll be able to fill out this problem right here. Then come down to number 4, and it says to draw an array of x's with 2 more rows of 3 than the array in problem 3. So once again, this one's a little bit tricky. So problem 3 said to have 3 rows of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my 3 rows of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now it says to have 2 more rows of 3. I almost forgot to draw my lines. So I would come in here and I would draw 2 more rows. So 1, 2, 3, there's 1 more. 1, 2, 3, there's 2 more. And then write the repeated addition equation. So how many rows do we have total? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you'd simply make a repeated addition problem over here with 5 blanks. And then way at the end over here, you'd answer to find the total. Alright, so moving on, we have draw an array of x's with 1 less column than the array in problem 4. So once again, coming back to look at problem 4, you would take this array right here and simply take out one of the columns. So that'd be like this, and then you would simply draw what's left. So it looks like we have 2 columns of 5. So you would come over here and draw 2 columns of 5, and then of course you separate them with your line so you can start drawing, and then go down like this on either side, then write the repeated addition right here. So hopefully this has been helpful, and we'll see you tomorrow.